Appalachian State still in there, and Virginia Tech. That's noteworthy because it's another ACC team getting ranked. Virginia Tech, if they beat Virginia, would play in the ACC title game against Clemson.
Also seeing those two Big 12 teams. Oklahoma State, of course, playing Oklahoma this week. Another feather in Oklahoma's cap potentially, and Iowa State still in the top 25, improving the vision of what the Big 12 might be.
And SC still hoping for Utah to stumble so the Trojans could go to the Pac-12 championship. Let's look at the next group. At number 20, Boise State. Now, you have these teams stacked up to be the highest-ranked Group of 5 champion, get a spot in a New Year's Six bowl. Memphis and Cincinnati may end up playing twice.
Memphis and Cincinnati, playing this Friday, may play again, depending on the result of that. But Boise State, the team that probably has the easiest path in terms of winning out their final 2 games for these ranked Group of 5 opponents. Boise State, without Hank Bachmeier the last 2 weeks, they get Colorado State and Hawaii.
Notre Dame sitting at 16, another Big Ten team in Iowa at 17. Let's continue the climb. Auburn will try to knock Alabama out of any hope of contention at number 15, and there's your answer.
Wow.
Oregon drops 8 spots to number 14. That's right in line with what happened in the AP poll.
Yeah, and we don't see Baylor on the board yet, which means Baylor has made a nice little jump up into the top 10. And so now the matchup in the Big 12 with Oklahoma playing Oklahoma State, and then if Baylor wins out, we have a top 10 matchup between Oklahoma and Baylor, and can they get past Utah if Utah wins out?
So there you have 11th ranked Florida, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Michigan, of course, hoping to put a loss in Ohio State's column. At number 10, Penn State down a couple after falling to Ohio State. Herbie, I see you nodding there. What's your reaction? Penn State just falling a couple of spots.
Yeah, I just go back to the first initial rankings. This committee threw a curveball for some when they had them up in the top 4 and Clemson at 5. They clearly like this team, and even despite another loss to Ohio State, they fought valiantly, and I think the committee recognizes that, dropping them down, keeping them in the top 10.
All right, let's look at number 9 now, ranked just ahead of Penn State, is Baylor. Baylor goes up 5 spots. You almost wonder if this is an adjustment within the committee room and said maybe we overreacted to the Oklahoma loss.
And they look good against Texas. And not that Texas is a good football team. They're a 5-loss team. But I think the committee must still have some respect for the Texas football team, because that is a surprise, almost as surprising as Oregon dropping 8.
I think their wins against Oklahoma State and Iowa State are looking better now for Baylor. So I agree. It's a bit of a market correction, if you would, from the committee for Baylor.
Well, Maria Bartiromo jumping in here to help out, too. Just ahead of Baylor at number 8, Minnesota.
Row the boat.
Gophers move up a couple of spots. Everything's in front of them with Wisconsin, and if they can beat the Badgers, a date with Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm hopping on that board for sure, on the boat, if you will, because I think they do control their own destiny. Take care of Wisconsin this week, protect the home field, square it off against the Buckeyes, take care of business there. I think Minnesota in at number 8 is a great spot for the Gophers to be.
And just looking ahead to Selection Day, doesn't that create all kinds of delicious possibilities if you have Minnesota in the mix, and Ohio State, at least to my eyes and many others, has looked like the most complete team from start to finish this season. Just ahead of PJ Fleck's team, ranked at number 7, is Oklahoma. So Oklahoma up a couple of spots at number 1, and see if LSU holds a spot. Can't imagine that they wouldn't. And at number 1 is Ohio State.
Wow.
After the win against Penn State, the Buckeyes, who made a little bit of a move in the AP poll, they have moved back to the top. Do you agree?
Yeah, I could see it both ways. I think you could have watched that game against Penn State and said, well, they were a bit sloppy on offense. They turned it over 3 times. Justin Fields fumbles going into the end zone. But even still won by double digits against the then number 8 team. And you said it, Reese, this week in, week out has looked like the most complete team. So personally, I don't have a problem with Ohio State at number 1.
LSU has the number 1 strength of record. Their strength of schedule is 10 spots ahead of Ohio State, yet it's going to be the Bayou Bengals who move a spot down to number 2. Back and forth they go, depending on who comes up with the big win of the week.
And I think when you look at strength of record and say LSU has a better strength of record and they're 10 spots ahead in the strength of schedule, from LSU, I'm wondering what else could we have possibly done with this schedule. Now, I wouldn't take being ranked number 2 as a slap in the face.
No, it's not.
But when you get changed from 1 to number 2, that's how people look at things. Like you're saying that we have now not looked as good, I guess, in our season that people thought. But again, if you look at the analytics, which I don't like to, but if you do, LSU is wondering what happened.
It's only taken me 6 years to get Joey to come around a little bit
on
these analytics. There is a problem with slipping to number 2. Jesse's touched on it, and here it is.
Dun, dun, dun.
If it ends that way, you wind up taking on Clemson in the semifinals. But you know what? I hate that phrase that you don't want to play. If you want to be a champion, you'll play anybody that shows up. So that's just something.
I'll tell you what, and if you're LSU and you beat Clemson and you beat Ohio State, then guess what? You're the national champion. You're the best team in the country.
You're an all-timer.
Yeah,
if you win those, you'll be an all-time champion and finish undefeated. At number 4, Georgia, holding firm. Hey, look, the Bulldogs' offense, they're the mid-sized rental of offenses, kind of shaky steering. There's a bad smell in the car, but they end up getting you where you need to go. But the defense has been dominating.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that people continue to overlook is that, okay, the offense is not sexy. It's okay. They don't want to be sexy. They want to play complementary football. So you look at their strength of record and who they've beaten. Yes, I'd like to see that passing game improve, but Georgia's going to be a tough out for anybody regardless of how much they're doing on the offensive side.
All right, let's look at 5 and 6 and see if Utah has overtaken Alabama yet. They have not. Alabama, without Tua Tagovailoa, will go to Auburn this week. All of this discussion may be a moot point by the end, and the Utes are at number 6. Hey, thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more scores, highlights, and analysis, you can download the ESPN app. You've got the ESPN app, right?
Honestly, on Saturdays for college football fans, if you don't have the ESPN app, that's the lifeline for every college football fan. So you have to have that. The live streaming now, ESPN Plus. To me, it's the only way to go. ESPN Plus was key for me recently. Got to get ESPN Plus. Arkansas State, Troy, down to the wire. Loving it. Superdog winner. Thanks to ESPN Plus.